They told him he was making the biggest mistake of his life. Not quietly, not behind his back. They said it where he could hear it, where it would settle into his thoughts and stay there. A young cowboy, strong, free, with his whole future stretched out in front of him. And he chose her. A woman who couldn't walk. A woman who hadn't danced in years. A woman the town had slowly learned to ignore, not because she disappeared but because people found it easier to look past what they didn't understand. They said he didn't know what he was giving up. Said he was too young to understand what sacrifice really meant. Said one day he would wake up, look at his life and realize he had chosen something that would only hold him back. And when that day came, he would leave, just like everyone else had. But what none of them understood, not the town, not the whispers, not even her, was that he had already lived the life they thought he wanted. And it had never once felt like something worth staying for. Until the storm. The storm didn't arrive gently. It came all at once. Wind tore across the Hayes Ranch like it had been waiting years to be released. The sky turned dark in a matter of minutes, and the air shifted from stillness to violence without warning. Fences rattled. Wood groaned. Loose boards snapped under pressure. Then came the rain. Heavy. Relentless. Cold enough to sting. Inside the cabin, Sarah Hayes sat still. Not frozen. Listening. That was how she survived out here. You didn't react to every sound. You learned which ones mattered. The wind had a rhythm. The walls had a language. And when something broke that pattern, you noticed. She noticed. A sudden shift. A movement that didn't belong. Her eyes lifted toward the window. And then she saw it. A horse. Running past her cabin. Too fast. Too hard. No rider. Her chest tightened instantly. That wasn't normal. That wasn't chance. Something had gone wrong. She didn't think. She moved. Her hands gripped the wheels of her chair as she pushed across the floor, every movement controlled and practiced. The cabin had been built around her, every ramp, every space, every surface adjusted so she could live without waiting for help. But outside didn't adjust. Still, she didn't hesitate. She grabbed her coat, opened the door, and pushed into the storm. The wind hit her first, sharp and forceful. Then the rain followed, soaking through her clothes within seconds. The ground beneath her wheels had already begun to soften, dragging slightly with every push, resisting her movement. But she leaned forward and kept going. Because there was no version of her life where she stayed inside after seeing that horse. She followed its path. Through blurred rain. Through resistance. Through wind that pushed against her like it wanted her to turn back. Until she saw him. A man. Face down. Too still. Everything narrowed. "Hey," she called. No response. She pushed closer. Turned him. Young. Blood along his temple. But breathing. That was enough. "You're not dying out here," she said. His eyes opened slightly. Confusion. "You came out here?" "I don't leave people behind." No hesitation. No doubt. Just truth. And with strength she had built over years of doing everything alone, she brought him inside. Morning came quietly. Like the storm had never existed. Sunlight stretched across the wooden floor, calm and steady. But Noah Grayson felt every part of it. Pain settled deep in his ribs. His head throbbed. His body reminded him exactly what had happened. Then he smelled coffee. Warm. Grounding. He turned his head slowly. And saw her. Sarah Hayes. Moving through the cabin like everything in it belonged exactly where it should. "You're awake," she said. "You dragged me in here?" "Yes." "Alone?" She looked at him. "Yes." No pride. No explanation. Just fact. And something about that stayed with him. Days passed. At first he stayed because he had no choice. Healing doesn't care about pride. But once he could stand, once he could leave, he didn't. Instead, he stayed. He started helping. Fixing broken fence lines. Reinforcing weak posts. Carrying what needed carrying. Not because she asked. Because he noticed. And that was new. Most people offered help loudly. Expected something in return. Left just as quickly as they came. But Noah didn't act like someone passing through. He paid attention. To the way she moved. To how she adapted. To how every part of her life had been rebuilt. Not around limitation but around control. And slowly, he stopped seeing her as someone fragile. She wasn't. She was disciplined, deliberate, stronger than most people he had ever met. And that unsettled him, because it changed something he had always believed. That strength looked one way. The town noticed too. And the town talked. It started quietly. It always did. Who is he? How long's he staying? Then louder. You planning on settling here? You understand what you're getting into? She won't say it, but you'll feel it eventually. Noah didn't argue, didn't respond. And somehow, that made it worse. Because silence doesn't defend itself. It confirms something deeper. Sarah heard it. Of course she did. Not directly, but in pauses, in glances, in the way conversation shifted when she entered. She didn't react. She never did. But the words followed her home. That night something shifted. Not in the town. Not in him. In her. The cabin felt different that evening. Quieter. Heavier. Not uncomfortable. But aware. She watched him move through the space. Fix something small without mentioning it. Sit without filling the silence. Stay. Without asking if he should. That was the part she didn't understand. People stayed when they needed something. He didn't. People stayed when it was temporary. He wasn't acting temporary. And that unsettled her more than anything the town had said. Because it felt like something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. Possibility. And possibility was dangerous. Because it meant something could be lost. Because the truth is, it's easy to stay when nothing is at risk. It's easy to care when there's no cost. But the real question isn't why someone stays in the beginning. What happens when staying becomes difficult? What happens when love demands something real? That's where most people leave. But not him. And in the next part, everything will be tested. That night, the silence inside the cabin felt different. Not empty. Not calm. But heavy. The kind of silence that carries something waiting to be said. Sarah sat near the table, hands resting lightly on the wheels of her chair, her eyes fixed on nothing in particular. The lamp cast a soft glow across the room, leaving the corners dim, shadows stretching long along the wooden walls. Noah sat across from her. Not speaking. Not pushing. Just there. And somehow, that made it harder. Because if he had said something careless, something easy to dismiss, she could have pushed him away. But he didn't. He stayed quiet. And quiet left no room for defense. You should go. The words came out steady. Too steady. Like they had been practiced long before they were spoken. Noah looked up. Not surprised. Just attentive. The road's clear now, she continued, her voice calm but thinner than she intended. Your horse is strong again. You'll make it back to town before nightfall. He didn't answer. She tightened her grip on the wheels just slightly. You don't owe me anything. Still silence. And that silence started to press against her. Because this wasn't how it was supposed to go. People usually left before this moment. Before anything real could form. But he hadn't. So she said the truth. The one thing she had never said out loud. The one thing that had lived quietly inside her for years. I can't walk beside you. The words landed between them. Sure. Final. Real. No apology. No softness. Just truth. She didn't look away. Didn't hide from it. Because this was the moment that ended everything. It always was. Men didn't stay when reality spoke that clearly. For a long moment. Nothing happened. Then Noah stood. Slowly. Not in frustration. Not in anger. And for a brief second, her chest tightened. This is it. He's leaving. But instead of turning toward the door, he stepped toward her. One step. Then another. Until he stood directly in front of her. Close enough that she could see the shift in his expression. Not pity. Not hesitation. Something steadier. Then without a word he lowered himself. Kneeling. Not above her. Not looking down at her. But meeting her exactly where she was. And that, more than anything, unsettled her. I don't need you to walk beside me, he said quietly. Her breath caught. Because the words didn't come with sympathy. They came with certainty. She tried to look away. But couldn't. I've been walking alone for a long time, he continued. There was something in his voice now. Not weakness. Not vulnerability in the way people show it when they want something. This was different. Honest. Every place I go feels the same. Every road looks like the last one. Every morning starts the same way, and ends the same way. He paused. Just enough for the silence to settle. Maybe I'm just tired of it. That wasn't what she expected. It wasn't an argument. It wasn't a promise. It wasn't him trying to convince her. It was him telling the truth. And truth is hard to fight. You don't understand, she said, her voice quieter now. This isn't just inconvenience. This is everything. Every day. Every step I can't take. Every place I can't go. I see that, he said. Then you know what it means. I know what it looks like, he corrected gently. I don't know what it feels like. That stopped her. Because most people pretended they understood. You didn't? And you're still here? She asked. Yes. Why? He didn't answer immediately. And for the first time she felt something unfamiliar. Not fear. Not doubt. Something deeper. Because the answer mattered. I don't know yet, he admitted. And that should have made it easier to push him away. But it didn't. Then you should leave before you figure it out, she said. Because if he stayed long enough to understand, it would be harder. For both of them. But Noah didn't move. Didn't stand. Didn't step back. He just looked at her. And that was the moment everything shifted. Not because of what he said. But because of what he didn't do. He didn't leave. The next morning the town made things clearer. Not through confrontation. Through pressure. Quiet. Steady. Unavoidable. Noah walked into town for supplies, the dust of the road still clinging to his boots. The moment he stepped inside the store, the air changed. Conversations slowed. Eyes lifted. Not hostile, but knowing. You're still out there? One man asked. Noah didn't answer right away. Helping her? Another added. There was a tone in it. Not curiosity. Judgment wrapped in something softer. She's managed fine without you, someone said from the back. And she'll manage after you leave. That word again. When you leave. Like it was already decided. Noah set his supplies on the counter. Not leaving, he said simply. A few men exchanged looks. One of them stepped forward slightly. You say that now. Noah met his gaze. I'm saying it now. And something about the way he said it made it clear. He meant it. The offer came that same afternoon. Not from the town directly. From opportunity. A man passing through. Money. Or a chance to leave the ranch behind and step into something easier. Something expected. Good pay, the man said. Better than fixing fences and hauling water. Noah looked at the paper in his hands. A clean future. Simple. Straightforward. No complications. No attachments. Everything the town believed he should choose. Everything he had chosen before. And for a moment, the old life pulled at him. Because it was familiar. Because it was easy. Because it required nothing from him. Then he thought about the cabin. The quiet. The way she moved through her space. The way she didn't ask for help, but didn't reject it when it was real. And something in him settled. He folded the paper once. Then tore it. Cling. Decisive. No. The man blinked. You're serious? Noah nodded. I'm staying. When he returned to the ranch, Sarah was outside. The air was calm again. Golden. Quiet. She looked at him for a moment. Longer than usual. You went into town, she said. Yes. You didn't stay. No. She studied him. Trying to understand something she couldn't yet name. You could have, she said. I could have. Silence stretched. Then she asked the question she hadn't allowed herself to ask before. Why didn't you? Noah didn't answer immediately. He stepped closer. Not rushing. Not forcing. Just closing the space between them. Because I didn't want to leave. That answer was simple. But it carried something deeper. Just. And for the first time, she believed it. Not completely. Not without hesitation. But enough. Enough to stop pushing. Enough to stop expecting him to disappear. Time passed. Not dramatically. Not suddenly. But steadily. The ranch changed. Stronger. Lived in. Sure. And somewhere along the way, she stopped preparing for the moment he would leave. That was the real change. Not him staying. Her believing it. Some people will walk away the moment life becomes complicated. Some people will choose comfort over connection. Some people will leave the second love requires something real from them. But every once in a while, you meet someone who stays. Not because they have to. Not because they don't have options. But because they choose to. And when someone chooses you like that, you don't question it. You don't push it away. You don't convince yourself you're not enough. You let it change your life. Because love was never about walking side by side. It was always about this, staying. And if this story stayed with you, then stay with us. There's another one waiting just beyond the horizon.